April 19, 1775. Dear Mother, the people of the colonies are stubbornly independent.
Raised our taxes, did we ever say?
None more so than here in Massachusetts.
And who can forget our brothers who lost their lives in the Boston Massacre?
They are bent on governing themselves. And now decry the same redcoats who just 12 years ago helped them win the French and Indian War.
The British are on the move! Sound to arms!
Sound advance!
Steady, men! Stand your ground and don't fire unless fired upon.
Lay down your arms and disperse, and you will not be harmed.
Stand your ground, men!
Surround and disarm them!
Please disperse. Please do as the Major says.
Surround and disarm them.
Charge bayonets! Light company, advance! Surrender your arms!
Never! We will not! We will never!
We shall use force! Disarm them!
Where did that come from?
Who fired?
Who fired? Present arms! Present arms! No!
Stop! Hold your fire!
We were ordered not to fire!
Tom, we're being shot at! Oh!
Does anyone know how many casualties there were?
8 dead, sir. A number of others wounded. I couldn't count them. I was afraid.
Nothing to be ashamed of. We all ran.
Who fired first? I couldn't tell.
It doesn't matter. It has brought us to war.
A war no one wanted.
Being in England convinced me that a fight between the colonies and the Crown is now inevitable.
Being here would have convinced you of the same thing. British soldiers fired on our people at Lexington and Concord.
The Crown's men fired upon her own subjects? Unthinkable. Tell me everything, Moses.
Here, you can read all about it.
The Shot Heard Round the World by James Hiller and Sarah Phillips. I'm very proud of them. And now, we must prepare for war.
I'm going to nominate Colonel Washington. He's the perfect man to head the new Continental Army.
Why not your own Mr. Hancock? I know he has designs on the top job.
Impossible. Washington is the only hero we have. The only man the whole country will support.
Will New England accept a Virginian?
A Southern man is exactly what we need. Otherwise, the Revolution will remain New England's war.
Chair recognizes the delegate from Pennsylvania Colony, Mr. Dickinson.
Gentlemen, hear me clearly. There are still those of us who believe in a peaceful resolve to this conflict. We are brothers, England and America. Surely there is another course short of all-out war?
The peace died on the greens of Lexington and Concord. It was murdered again at Bunker Hill. There is no peace in the hearts and minds of the countless thousands who have been forced to swallow the vile brew of British tyranny.
Mr. Adams, you spit fire well, but the king's guns spit lead. You will lead us down the path to ruin.
And you, sir, will lead us down the path to slavery.
We can't win a war with England!
If you insist on war, you shall have it. But it will be New England's war, Mr. Adams. Massachusetts is free to fight England until the moon falls into the sea, but she will fight alone!
Order, gentlemen, order! The chair recognizes the distinguished gentleman from Philadelphia, Dr. Benjamin Franklin.
Friends, I remind you that we lack not in great talkers, but great doers. I find myself in agreement with Mr. Adams. War is upon us, like it or not. Our great comfort is that we honestly and faithfully did everything in our power to prevent it. But war is here, on our doorstep, whether our doorstep be in Boston or Baltimore.
Floor.
There are two voices here. One seeks reconciliation with England. The other seeks independence. I address the former. It was Parliament, remember, which has doomed our country to destruction. They have begun to burn our towns and murder our people. Look upon their hands. The fault lies not with Mr. Adams. The fault lies in London.
If Congress does not take over the army at Boston soon, it will disintegrate. All hope will be lost. The time has come. We must have a general today.
Gentlemen, I think the solution is obvious. John Hancock is my nominee to lead our new national army.
Mr. Payne, you flatter me. But we also have a gentleman available of impeccable credentials. A Southerner, Colonel Charles Henry Lee of Virginia.
Who was born in England and who would be perfectly happy to be there now. The man we are looking for is among us, and he is a Southerner from Virginia. I nominate as General of the Colonial Army, Colonel George Washington.
I accept this momentous duty because this Congress desires it. I beg it be remembered by every gentleman in this room that I, this day, declare with utmost sincerity, I do not think myself equal to the command I am honored with. If the men are brave and don't panic, I'd have more confidence if we had stores of ammunition. Colonel Prescott, every shot will have to find its mark.
Why don't they shoot? The British are almost on top of them!
They've only got 5 musket balls apiece, and almost no powder. Our men will have to make every shot count.
Steady, men! Hold your fire until you see the whites of their eyes!
Mr. Payne, it's a great pleasure to meet you. Your essays against slavery have been an inspiration.
Thank you, good fellow. I'm opposed to all forms of tyranny. You see, our current struggle is not really with England.
I'm happy to hear you say that.
It's against all privilege. It's against any system where some have unfair advantage over others. I've been struggling to define this revolution of ours, to explain it in a way that will make it clear to every man, woman and child. At Benjamin Rush's suggestion, I've called it common sense. It should be on the streets any day now.
May I?
And what conclusions have you reached?
I make the case for total independence from the crown.
Independence? You would cut ties to the king himself?
The sooner, the better.
Tom, while I agree with you, I'm not sure the people are ready for such a radical solution. The majority are still loyal to the king. Their beef is with Parliament.
Ben, the whole idea of a tiny island like England imposing rule over a giant land like this is absurd.
But that's how it's always been.
And people once thought the world was flat. It is my hope common sense will change public opinion.
Dr. Franklin?
I've just finished reading this troubling little pamphlet for the 3rd time. It's written in simple language for ordinary people, but its simplicity is what gives it eloquence. Mr. Payne says the common people are capable of ruling themselves and don't need kings or even men of wealth and high station to rule over them.
But men in your own Congress disagree. They say without guidance, without controls, the common man is impulsive, even violent. Mr. Payne seems better at tearing down than building up. That pamphlet is dangerous.
Indeed it is. There's nothing like it in print, but sometimes dangerous ideas are necessary. The rabble can be violent, it's true, but so can kings. Mr. Payne has written something profound. Common sense is a revolution in thought. It appears to have taken an ordinary man to grasp the power of ordinary men.
The chair recognizes Richard Henry Lee of Virginia.
Mr. President, I would offer 3 resolutions. That the colonies are in fact free and independent states absolved of all allegiance to Great Britain, that the independent states seek to form foreign alliances, and that the independent states establish a plan of confederation.
I second all 3 resolves.
Order in the chambers! Order!
So it is our job to come up with a written statement of independence on which Congress is to vote.
So you'd better start working on it, John.
Not me, Franklin. My shrill insistence and lack of tact have made me too obnoxious. If the others know it's my hand on the pen, they'll tear it to shreds.
Whom do you propose to write it?
You, Dr. Franklin. You are the most famous writer on the continent.
I pass. I write for the amusement of my readers and myself. I will not write something only to have a Congress rewrite it.
What about Roger Sherman or Robert Livingston? They're on the committee as well.
They can barely write their names. Jefferson, you have a fine mind and a gift for language.
Me?
You.
It will be an honor to turn what talents I have to this cause. I only hope I prove worthy.
And do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
As I believe the voice of my constituents and of all sensible and honest men is in favor of independence, my own judgment concurs with them. I vote for independence.
It's unanimous. The resolution on independence passes.
Mark my words. This day, July 2nd, will be remembered as the most revered day in American history, an occasion for games, sports, bells, bonfires, and illumination.
In accordance with the wishes of the delegates, let us now debate Mr. Jefferson's declaration.
Debate what? The time for talk is past. It's time to act.
The bonfires and illuminations may have to wait, John. The Congress wants to quibble over the words.
There. A signature big enough for King George to see it all the way from London. Dr. Franklin?
We must all hang together, or most assuredly we shall all hang separately.